Density is a characteristic of materials that talks about how much matter is in a given space. So if I take two objects that have about the same volume, a wooden block and this sponge here, the wooden block is much heavier than the foam sponge. They have about the same volume. This is heavier because it has more material, more matter in the same amount of space than the sponge does. In today's lab, we're going to take several materials and find their volume and their mass, and then calculate the density. And then from the list, we're going to determine what those materials are. Stay tuned. You're only going to need three things for today's lab. You're going to need the plug kit. Again, as you go through this kit, make sure that it's full. It should have 12 plugs in it. Let me show you to you up close here. So you'll see 12 plugs, and they're in there by height. They start from the small ones down here, and then they get taller. The next row gets taller and taller again. Make sure in that order, because we're going to do things from the small guy first to the tall one last. So after you have that, make sure you have a caliper. You practiced this the other day with doing some measurements of some lengths. We're going to be measuring the plugs inside of here, and you're going to be using the outside. Where the outside says 0, this is where you're going to be measuring from. And triple beam balance. So make sure it's zeroed out. Slide all the riders all the way to the left. Twist here again, make sure it's all zeroed out, and we're ready to go. Take your plug kit, again, start with the smallest one, take it out, and with your calipers, you're going to measure its length. So again, as you saw in the lab last week, open it up, close it gently on it. As you read, you're going to read the outside, make sure it's focused for you. Add the 0 up here at the top, get that length in centimeters. So in this case, that's what? That's going to be exactly 4 centimeters. Enter that value on your table on the document for this lab. Okay, and then have someone else in the lab take the same plug, try to do these in order, take a triple beam balance. After zero it out, lay the plug on top, get a good reading in grams, get it down to the nearest 10th gram. So it could be 5.7 grams or 38.2 grams, but 1/10 gram is fine. Then, do that for all the plugs. And you have time today. You have two formulas to work with. You have the volume, which is pi times r squared times L, L being the length of the plugs. The pi is 3.14. R I have on the table for you. Just take the number and square it in your calculator, times the length, again, on the plug. That will be the volume of this plug, how much space it takes up. Then, for the density, you're going to take the mass, which you weighed on triple beam balance, divided by the volume, which you just calculated, and that'll become your density for that item. Go through all 12 of them, get all the densities, and you should be set for the day. If you have time, you can go to the table that I've given to you in the back of the lab. It has items, or has the materials and their densities, and you can match them up and see if you can determine which material is which. A few questions to answer, then submit. Have fun.